The Minister for Communications, Esla Osu-Ekufo, has called for some media regulations to deal with fake news and harmful content. Speaking at a consultative meeting with media stakeholders a while ago, the minister argued that even as these laws will not stifle freedom of expression, it will go a long way to sanitize the media landscape.
If for nothing at all, the imperative of having a set of regulations to guide the content that we produce is now apparent to all of us. And I believe that as men and women of goodwill, we will work together to ensure that we serve our nation well in this area as well. And while we're at it, we need to look at the ease with which fake news is also spreading around us based on the social media platforms that we have. And now there's a convergence between traditional and new media, and the lines are blurred because you, the traditional media practitioners, are taking your content from social media and vice versa. So the rules which guide traditional media must also be crafted in such a way that it can also guide the new media as well. How do we do that? We need to think through, look at best practices from around the world, and see how we can sanitize this space so that what we read on new and social media we can accept as largely credible. If the proliferation of fake news undermines the integrity of the work that you do, you will be the losers, because it will only breed skepticism and cynicism about the content of the media, the information that is published out there. And ultimately, it will affect your output. So let's all work together to see how we can use the current tools at our disposal. And there's something in the Electronic Communications Act which makes it possible for us to pull down content that is false, misleading, or criminal, broadcast on electronic platforms. It's there. We've never used it. But it's time for us to look at, and I'm sure that the legal director of the NCA in his presentation will deal with some of these issues. If Twitter and Facebook can pull down offending content and have regulations about how you use those platforms, we can also decide as platform owners what kind of content we will host on the platforms, and it will be perfectly legal. However, you do not want to stifle this very vibrant space by heavy-handed, overbearing legislation. So let's work together to find common ground, which will enable us to facilitate the innovation and the talent and the creativity of our people, and enable us to also disseminate that freely while protecting our impressionable young minds from a barrage of offensive and unwholesome material.
That's the Minister for Communications and Digitization there. Let's now hear from the Attorney General, Godfrey Dame, who says that the remits of the law must abide when it comes to regulating the media space.
The very constitutional architecture of the nation even requires that there is in place a legal regulatory framework that not only gives vent to the expression of media rights and other freedoms of the media, but also puts in place reasonable limitations for the exercise of those rights. And I refer to Article 21. We all know that Article 21, Clause 1, grants to the media freedom of expression, to all citizens of Ghana, freedom of expression, and also grants to us the freedom of information. But then in the same Article 21, we find in Clause 4, accord with public order, morality, and health of the nation. Then you go to the specific chapter on the media, Article 162 and 163, bolster the rights of the media. But again, in Article 164, there is the permission to impose restrictions in the interest of public order, public morality, and for the protection of the rights and freedoms of others. So you see that the Constitution itself recognizes that there ought to be reasonable limitations imposed by law, and those laws definitely ought to be on the basis of public order, public morality, and the protection of the rights and freedoms of reputations of others. But in this country, you see that there's an absence of a specific legislation which gives expression to the reasonable limitations that ought to be imposed in accordance with public order, public morality, and the protection of rights of others. And I think that this sense, of course, is not only in the area of the media. Parliament has even failed to act, especially in areas relating to the Article 181 obligation. There's an obligation on the part of Parliament to enact laws that will regulate the Article 181 obligation of the state.